All right, back working on the '07 328i E90 again today. So today, going to be doing an oil change and going to be fixing a couple common BMW flaws. I definitely was waiting for an oil change to come around to do these just because it's kind of easier with an oil change, and I'm at about 5,000 miles, which is a little bit early, but I figured might as well. So also, I'm not liking that last time I did it, I've been getting some seepage, even though this thing is as tight as can be from the oil filter housing. But anyways, so we'll be replacing today oil filter housing gasket. These are common to fail. Here's the part number. I'll probably also put it in the description. But this is OEM. I just wanted to get OEM to avoid any problems. And then another thing I'm going to be replacing is the thermostat coolant hose with the, I believe it's an aluminum fitting here. That's the one that is right down here. That's this one right here. They're known to disintegrate and fail and cause coolant leaks, and I'm just trying to get ahead of these issues just before they happen. So these are two very common issues that I've seen online and on forums and Facebook and stuff. So, and I think that doing this, it's definitely easier to do this during an oil change because the oil filter housing obviously needs to come off, and if it's off, it's just, to me, it just makes sense to do the oil change along with these two issues. So as mentioned, the parts I'm using is the filter housing gasket, and then this, it's technically an aftermarket hose with the fitting. Here's the part number for that. It's Rain. I got both of these parts on FCP Euro. I'll try to link it if the link doesn't work, or if I'm not allowed to do a link, I'll just put the part numbers. Also, I have OEM coolant. This is concentrate. It's 50/50, so it says to use deionized water. I'm using distilled water, so it should be fine. And then I have 5W30 Euro car full synthetic with Castrol, and then oil filter. Also, I got the filter, I think, on Amazon. Coolant, also FCP. But you can buy it anywhere, or you can use aftermarket as long as it's the right color. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be using today. All right, so first thing I did was drain the oil. Pulled the oil filter cap off with the filter. I stuck some towels in there, got out as much as I could, just because I just want to make less of a mess. Plan of attack, I think, is going to be to remove that first, let the oil drain. I pulled the pan off from the bottom. And here's my undercarriage. First time actually seeing it with the whole pan off. And I definitely knew I needed an oil pan gasket, but after looking at this, I definitely need an oil pan gasket. And that might be the next project, but definitely not looking forward to it. But at least I don't have an X drive, so I don't have to deal with that. But yeah, so I'm gonna pop off the coolant hose, get a tub under here, let the coolant go into there instead of just dripping all over the place, and we'll go from there. All right, so first thing I did, bottom side of the radiator, you have a blue cap or blue screw or blue petcock, whatever you want to call it. Pop that off, let some of the coolant drain just to get it out of the top of the system here. When I remove this coolant hose down there by the thermostat housing, it's going to leak even more, but at this point I just want to be able to remove this hose and the flange without coolant getting everywhere. So also put a rag in here just to prevent potential sockets or something like that falling in there, causing an issue. So I already loosened these. These are a 10 mil. This coolant flange looks like it's already been replaced potentially. I mean, the flange looks newer, and then the hose doesn't look old or anything, but it's still the plastic one, and it just worries me because it's attached basically to the cylinder head, which has, way more heat than you'd have over here somewhere by this hose over on this side where you have less heat. So I should probably get another glove on, but I got the two hoses off, or the two screws off, sorry, bolts. And I got that off. That was pretty easy. Doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look like, I've seen some that are corroded really poorly right here. It looks okay. The gasket's not too flattened out. So this may have been replaced. But it doesn't matter. I'm replacing it anyways because I prefer the aluminum one, and I prefer this oil filter housing gasket be replaced. There's a bolt down here. This is one of the 3 bolts that connects the filter housing to the head. This bolt, they're all E10s, but this bolt, it's hard to get to without removing this to begin with. So if you're just doing this job just for the coolant, the oil filter housing gasket, you're going to need like an E10 ratchet, and that's just something you're going to have to get, because I only have sockets and I can't really get to this with a socket. I tried, but either way, I want to replace this, the flange and the hose, so it kind of works out that way. It's a little bit easier that way anyways. So yeah, the next step is going to be to replace, or to pull this coolant hose off here, and then once that's pulled off, then I can start working on the other bolts. So just pull that clip back. Pretty straightforward. The only thing I pulled off to get out of my way was the inlet, the air inlet. It doesn't require tools, plus nothing else is really in the way. The filter housing or the filter box isn't really in the way. Maybe a little bit, but. So wiggle this back and forth, just be careful. This is probably a better angle for that. So I have my E10 with the 3/8 on my 3/8 ratchet. Go in the right place once you put them back, because they are different lengths. If you don't already have a magnetic dish for your screws and bolts, I would definitely suggest getting one, because it's really easy to lose everything. So. Alright, so as you can see here, there's the last bolt in there, and I had to get a crazy setup to get in there and get at the right angle, but it's not easy to get to, or it's not simple, but I'll show you my setup. Because my E10 was a 3/8, I had to get a downsized adapter, a swivel adapter, because I don't have any 3/8 swivels. I only have one 1/4 inch swivel, 1/4 inch adapter, a 1/4 inch ratchet. If you have a 3/8 swivel, I think you're good. And if you have an E10 that's in the 1/4 inch size, if you have a 1/4 inch swivel, you're good. Either way, you're going to need a swivel, unless you want to take the whole intake manifold off, which nobody does. Or if you have a ratcheting E10, like an E10 combo wrench, you're good. But 2 things that I'm going to do before I completely remove that last bolt is these 2 connectors here. I think coolant temp, coolant pressure, I believe. I could be wrong, but either way, just get a pick or a flathead or something. Actually, I guess you don't need that. Never mind, these are just pressed. So you press it down, pull it back, press this one down, pull it back. And then, as you can see, it's already loose. I just need to get that last bolt off all the way, and then I can remove the housing. Last bolt is definitely not small. It's fully threaded. It's actually the second longest. It's longer than the one that's on the top, or sorry, the one that's on the bottom, which I don't know why they made that one so long. It's gonna be a pain to get back inside, but I have everything disconnected now, so I'm going to pull it up slowly, and not too bad. Oh, and I just got oil all over top of the engine. That's great. That is awesome. Oils that I've seen in the past or in videos, these gaskets are way more flattened out. This gasket's actually looks pretty good. It doesn't look too bad. Maybe this was replaced too. The mating surface also looks okay. The only reason I'm replacing all these, I mean, maybe these are both done recently, but I have no proof of them being replaced. This car is about to roll over 200,000 miles. I think I've seen the Carfax and stuff, but there's no mention of these things being replaced. So I had no idea if they were or weren't, and I know they're notorious for this car, so I might as well just replace them. Plus, especially the flange being aluminum now versus plastic, and this gasket being replaced just gives me peace of mind. So I'm glad I'm doing it. I don't feel like I wasted my time. The hose I just pulled off, it was a real pain getting the back end off. This is the clamp that was on there. I don't think it's original, so this makes me think this hose was replaced before. But that clamp definitely was on there pretty tight. I had to use 3 extensions, an adapter, and a swivel, and an 8mm to get it off, because I could not get down there. But I was able to get it off. A bunch more coolant dumped out, but now it's good to go with the new hose, and then I'll be able to attach the new filter with the housing gasket. New versus old hose. New hose looks great. It's tight. Even if this hose was replaced, you can tell it's pretty old. Here's the new flange. I'm gonna get some silicone grease or silicone lubricant to put on that O-ring so it doesn't pinch when I put it in there. And then yeah, it sucks because for some reason, even though the hose is new and the flange is new and it has this clamp on there, there's no back end clamp that comes with it. So even though I'm not a huge fan of that clamp, I'm gonna reuse it just because it's the right size and it wasn't leaking before, so I'm gonna go with that one. All right, so it's kind of hard to see down there, but I finally got the hose onto the housing, got the clamp on. It's a real pain getting it on there, especially when you have, well, actually getting it on is not too bad, but the clamp is definitely different, I think, from the original. But I had loosened the clamp to the point where it's almost completely off the screw, put it on there, and then I used this massive extension again to tighten it down. That's the screw right there, right in the middle of the screen for that clamp. And then the hose comes up here. I just picked up some silicone lubricant. I'm gonna spray it on there and then I'm gonna put it on and put it back together. All right, so what I'm gonna do is clean off this mating surface for the filter housing. I'm using just like a wet, it's actually a Tubbo towel wipe. It's for your hands, but it cleans off grease really, really well. And sometimes I use it just to clean off, oil spills or whatnot. But in this situation, yeah, it's very, it's working pretty good. This thing was kind of clean to begin with. Yeah, I'm going to get the oil filter housing. So we have it here. Gonna get my pick and get this filter or gasket out of here. It's kind of dry a little bit, I guess. It's not too bad, but we're replacing it either way. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna probably get a towel and go through the channels a little bit, just maybe clean it up best I can. So I went through, I took some parts cleaner or brake cleaner, cleaned off the housing. I also took some electric contact cleaner and cleaned out this sensor. A lot of people replace it while they're in here, but it's not that hard to replace regardless. I think it's a pressure sensor. Put the new gasket in, obviously make sure it's just flat and flush all around. Once you get it on there, I guess don't shift it around too much. I don't know if it matters too much, but I guess it's just best to be cautious. So I'm gonna get it on there. What am I doing here? All right, so now I'm going to torque up the socket or the bolts. Online it says, some people say 18 foot-pounds. FCP says 16.2 foot-pounds, which is about give or take 194 inch-pounds. So that's what I'm going to go with. All right. So last one here. There we go, that's it. I'll double check this one. I think it wouldn't hurt because there's also a gasket inside of that hose to also spray some of the silicone lubricant. Oops. Down in there. Just so we don't have any kinks anywhere. No problems anywhere. And there we go. You want that snap. Now I'm going to reattach this new flange again. I'm going to get some lubricant on there again. And gently, but firmly, press it in. So that crack you just heard was the second hose clamp or hose guide clamp that holds the hose and kind of keeps it in line with the Just keeps it tight and stuff down, down the route towards the thermostat. There's 2 clamps. There's one here, one a little further back, and I've broken both. So I might be reordering at least one of them just so it stays in place. Not a big deal. The hose looks like it'll be okay as far as staying in place, but it's just annoying. And I'm going to re-tighten this again and tighten down these 10mm bolts gently and not over tighten, not strip out our head and cause much larger issues. The thing is, this flange goes in pretty well, pretty snug. I don't think it's necessary to over tighten it like crazy and cause more issues than we need. All right. So snug, not too tight. Seems pretty good to me. I'm satisfied. Earlier I mentioned that you need to disconnect this coolant temp sensor or whatever to gain access or to remove the filter housing. You don't need to do that, but it does help just to get that out of the way, just to give yourself a little more room. Make sure you reconnect anything you disconnected. I disconnected this hose right here. Now that we're all good there, I'm going to put the new filter in. I'm going to make sure that the new gasket on the cap is nice and lubricated and not kinking and seeping oil like it was last time. And then from there, I'm going to refill oil, coolant, and then do the startup. I am a big fan of these man filters. I like that they come with this gasket here. Comes with the actual cap gasket, and then it comes with a washer for the drain bolt. I think that's pretty cool. All right, I got my diluted coolant, or not diluted, my properly mixed coolant, and I'm going to fill it up. Alright, so I got my coolant bled properly, oil filled up, ran it for about 10-15 minutes, checked here, checked down there at the thermostat, checked around the oil filter housing, no obvious leaks, coolant is topped off, oil should be good. Everything's back together. I'm going to put the inlet back in, and other than that, that should be good. Yeah, and that's it. Thanks for watching.